Hello, it's me, and it's time to try to tackle this new circle 5x5. Now, I've been pretty excited about scrambling and solving this, so I haven't really taken too much of a look at the structure, but I think I have an idea in terms of what the strategy is going to be. So we see two different evolutionary lines of circle puzzles. One is what I'd call the real versions of them. Real meaning that they're pretty much the pure 2x2 embedded inside a 4x4, as all of these are. The archetypic version of that is going to be like the real 5x5, and I'd like to sort of correlate the real 5x5 with these 5x5s. This is a natural progression to this line, this evolutionary line, in that you have a 1x1 surrounded by a 3x3 surrounded by a 5x5. Now these are a little different. These are the fused versions of the supercube. They have a homology to these in that they have circles, and these circles are stationary, but they're actually versions of fused cubes. So this 2x2 is actually a fused 3x3 that is all the functions and looks of a circle puzzle. This is the same kind of a thing. This is a fused 3x3. I'll call it a 2x2 from now on, just because that's the structure, surrounded by a 4x4. This one, same kind of thing. This is another version of the 4x4, but this one has extra pieces over here that don't really match to or correlate to the actual structures of a 4x4. So this 5x5, where does it belong in the continuum? Well, this is the Sengso version, so it's more within the line of this evolutionary line, but it's gotten to a point where it's kind of indistinguishable from what we might see here, but the strategies are very similar to what we're going to find with this line. So this is the Sengso version. Now how can I correlate that with the real 5x5? So as I've said in the past with previous tutorials on this fantastic puzzle, the real 5x5 has an embedded 1x1, so this is all the same piece, doesn't scramble, 1x1, surrounded by a 3x3, where this is the center of a 3x3. These two pieces here are the same, they're the edges of the 3x3, this piece, this piece, this piece, and these pieces. These are the edges of a 3x3. And this is an entire side, and this is the corners of a 3x3. So Karl Hoff put all the components in here, and this part here, this is all your 5x5. This is your centers of the 5x5. So these pieces all together make the center. These pieces make the edges, but they're not the same pieces. This piece is different from this. It's just the four centers, and these represent the corner centers. So if you had to take a look at this, to correlate, this layer is the 5x5, this is the center collectively. This whole thing represents the center of one side, a supercenter. These here represent this piece, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that represents 1, 2, 3, 4. These are not connected, these are separate from each other. And these pieces, these two are connected, and these two are connected, so they represent the centers, they represent the corners here. This is represented by these two, and there's 4 of those. So each one is represented. These pieces here are pretty much just an attachment, the same thing as this piece, on both sides. So this edge over here, each of these edges has these two over here. So how does that correlate with these? Now, I'll tell you that this puzzle is the same as this. These pieces here really don't have their own existence. They're an attachment of another piece, I believe, which we'll talk about in a second. But does this correlate? Well, if you look at the center over here, what's interesting is that when you turn the top, this rotates. When I turn the middle, this stays stationary. So this center stays stationary here, doesn't move. It stays stationary with this piece here, doesn't move. But the middle piece, it moves. So in the previous puzzles, when I took a look at, say, the 4x4, if I grab it from the center here, this stayed stationary here, but if I grabbed it from here, this moved with it. So which means that this was fused all the way through. And to decide to do sliding U techniques with these pieces, I had to find which one of these layers will move the center. And in this case, it was the bottom one here. Well, what's interesting about this is it's only one layer, because this middle layer is the only one that moves the circle. None of the others do. This doesn't and this doesn't. So I can take these two and the center won't move. Might be easier to see it with this color here. So the center won't move. I can turn it upside down and take these two layers. The center won't move. But if I move the middle one, the center moves in both layers. So you can look at this top and this bottom are fused to this. So this is the portion of the fused part of the cube. It's like that with all the central layers. That's what moves these. It's the same thing in this puzzle here too. No movement, and movement. So these center areas move these. So this represents sort of an extra layer with the 4x4 version here. Now, just for the sake of discussion, when I refer to this puzzle, it's the same thing as this. You can really correlate it the same way. I suppose I can look at this one. This would also represent a dice. So this is a 1x1. So like that, it's like this piece over here. This does not scramble with each other. Now, because this is the 3x3, does this represent a 3x3? And the answer is, well, I think so. But this represents the one layer of a 3x3, one face of a 3x3. This piece is the same as this piece. Is it the same as this piece? And the answer is, I think it is. So these pieces are all connected. We'll never get these to scramble. So we can say these represent the centers of a 3x3. This piece is the same as this piece, much like this was the same as this. So from a real standpoint, a real 5x5, we can say that this is a center together, and these pieces are the edges. So this is one layer of a 3x3, and this is the opposite layer of a 3x3. Same thing with this. Layer 1, first layer, and this will be the third layer. And in that, this layer, this represents of a 3x3 the centers. These collectively represent the centers. And this represent one edge. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So in that way, we do have a real kind of a 3x3. Now the difference is that this, Carl's version, actually has corners. In this case, we don't have corners. So this is like a cornerless 3x3. So we have all the components of a 3x3 from the centers to the edges. We just don't have the corners. But still pretty good for something that's mass produced. So that's okay with this. What does this layer represent? Well, over here, all of these had its homologies to every portion of the center of a 5x5. Well, what is true with this? Well, this, and this, these are all the same. They don't scramble with each other. So this is all like one piece, all these four pieces here. So we can say this is the supercenter of a supercube 5x5. So that represents this center here. Let's say, so that represents this center here. So this represented this center, and all these pieces were the same, just like it's one center. So too, all these pieces are the same. Now what about these pieces over here? Well, these two are the same. These two are the same, so we can say that they are the central edge pieces. In other words, they represent these pieces here. So this piece will be represented by this piece would be represented by this, and this piece will be represented by this. Now that's a different configuration, because in this, each of these pieces represented its own, well, that's neat, its own edge. So its own central edge. Each one of these represented one of these pieces here. Not so in this case. This is represented by what was these, but these are attached over here. So each one of these two represents a central edge. What about central corner pieces? Well, there is no central corner pieces. These are not corner pieces. They're actually attached to the outer edge. This is the same as these two pieces here. So where this moves, so too do these. So what that means is that if you looked at this, it's like a 5x5 that has the center, has the edges, has these edge centers, but these have been scooped out. Look at these as like they're part of a void. So these are missing. So we got the center, we got the edges, but none of these guys here. But we do have all of the outer edges. We have all the outer edges and also the corners. So it's very close to a real 5x5, but the 3x3 portion is missing the corners. And the 5 by 5 portion is missing the corner centers. Aside from that, it maps out pretty well, although the configuration is a little different. The only difference with this are these pieces are missing, but that just represents where the edges go. And where the edges go, so too these follow. This is correlative with these edges over here. Okay, so an excellent addition to the collection, and the question is solvability. Now that we know what edges there are, it's sort of a quasi-semi-real 3x3, but without, I'm sorry, real 5x5, but without all of the components. The 3x3 does not have the corners, and the 5x5 does not have the corner centers. I guess what we can do is just kind of scramble it. Now, because these puzzles are pretty much the same, I don't have to necessarily scramble both. What you get with this, you get with this as well. The only difference is that you've got these pieces, but they don't really contribute to the solve that much. In many ways, it was kind of like this puzzle over here. This and this are the same process, the same pieces. These pieces here didn't really contribute anything more. They got solved as you put the edges in. They correlated very directly with the edges. This correlated with this piece here, and this correlated with this piece over there. So there isn't that much more of a challenge from this piece to this puzzle to that puzzle. But in the interest of the fact that I've got both, and I'd like to see them both scrambled, we can do something of a tandem solve with that. So the first step is, well, let's go ahead and scramble it, and we can see how playable it is, and you can decide which one. If this is much less expensive than this, I think it's going to be the same solve experience. So first few, so when I scramble this, you're going to notice that's when the center is being scrambled, just by scrambling these in here. But let's go ahead and go through this. So I'd say the playability factor is really good. Playability meaning how smoothly it moves, how stable it is. And I think what we have is we pretty much have a similar kind of a solve that we did with a 4x4 using sliding U techniques and really just 3x3 algorithms. But let's see if something is added to this. Now the main difference between this puzzle and the 4x4 is we're not going to get the parity of reduction, a parity problem. Parity of reduction is when you take something of one ordered layer cube and reduce it to a different ordered layer cube, realizing that you're going to get a configuration that was not going to be scrambled in that original configuration. That's when you take an even layer and reduce it to an odd layer and solve it as an odd layer. Okay, not bad. So now we take a look at this beast over here, same thing. All right, so Sengso really puts out very good playable puzzles. Something about their structure. Sometimes people put out puzzles that are more just innovations, but still needed a lot more tinkering to make it work. A new puzzle is like a new piece of technology. You can either be an early adopter, where it's not quite have everything ironed out, and you have to do a lot of post-marketing modifications yourself. You have to file it down, you have to redesign pieces. That's an early adopter. Innovators will take it when it's still kind of in the beta testing stage. And then there's the more conservative-minded, where you want something that's been well broken in and well used. It's like any technology. Okay. Let's see if we can separate all these pieces as much as we can. Okay, pretty good, pretty good. Okay, so there we have it, scrambled circle 5x5, and we're going to see just how that plays out. I suspect that there's a merging of these two evolutionary lines, that really, once they get to the 5x5, whether it's a fused version or a circle version, it all comes down to the same thing in terms of how they're put together. The difference is that this is not missing any pieces, this one is. Okay, so how do we start the solve? I'm going to use this as the base puzzle. I don't think this is really going to be much different in terms of the solve experience. Well, right now we have the 1x1, which is already in, and this will coordinate the centers. So I don't look at this as the center of the 5x5. This is the center of the 1x1. So the next step is we can do the 3x3. But instead of solving it layer by layer as a 3 by 3, I'm just going to continue to solve all together, and I suspect this, this, and this are the same pieces, which means that to put this in, I simply have to rotate it, because I don't think it ever got scrambled. So if this is in, this is in, this is in, and this is in, which means solving all these will solve all the rest. So I'll just wheel this in, this is already in, and aha, okay. So these are all in, or the ones that are opposite these are all in. So this crosses in in exactly the same way. To move these in, I think we'll just turn it until we get to the proper color. So this crosses in. You're going to find that the cross is in on all sides. So far, so good. So I'm going to just, by rote, put these guys in as well. And no worries. Okay, so it's almost trivial. Now before, the way that I solve this is I would put in the outer 4 by 4 before solving the inner 2 by 2. I'm doing it differently this time. I think I can solve, and the main reason that I did that is because of parity problems. This will have no parity problems, so I think we can do it from the inside to the outside. So my strategy is a little bit different. So how can we do the rest? Well, I suspect that all of these are the same pieces. So if this was the center of a 3 by 3, the center of the 5 by 5, the same. But before I get these in, why don't we get these guys in here, which I'm correlating as the edges. And this is going to be by way of sliding U techniques. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, I need to be able to move this around. So let's say I want to move a green one into here. Well, here's a green one. I want to move this into this slot. So what that means is I'm just going to move it up from this layer, this left layer here. So now I have it occupying this layer here and this layer. I'm now going to turn this. I moved it up on the left. I'm now going to swing this to the right. And I'm going to use not this layer to do that. I can't use this layer. I have to use the central layer to swing this to the right. So I'm going to take the middle layer, swing it to the right. Boom. Now I'm going to move it up from the right like this. Boom. Now I got to move it back and put everything back in. So let's take this middle layer, move this back, and now we have down on the right, move this back, I'm sorry, down on the left, move this back to the right, and go down on the right, and move this back. Now in so doing, I put that in, but nothing else got destroyed. I didn't just move it up, which would have destroyed that. So everything is going to be that sliding U technique as a practice. So this will come up to, well, we'll still get the inner stuff. So this will come up to here. So move it in on the right, on the left rather, slide it to the right. I've got to turn this whole center, and I can do that with the middle layer here. Turn it to a right area, move it up on the right, slide it back to the left, down on the left, slide it back to the right, down on the right, and there it is. And let's put the final one here of the 3 by 3. Now it's there. I got to move it into this spot, and that's not a problem. Temporarily, I'll move this center like this, which will turn this circle to match this piece to this piece. I'll just have to know to turn it back, but that won't be a problem. Up on the left, so we're in this layer, I gotta move it to the right so that I can move this layer up. So slide it to the right, up on the right. Slide it back to the left, down on the left. Slide it back to the right, down on the right. And, well, slide it back, but we don't have to do that. I'll just slide this back over here. So, because this is in, guess what the opposite side is going to look like? The same. This is in. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill these guys in, and this is done the same way. So, for instance, okay, I can move this to here. Now, doing this sliding U technique won't take any of these out. So, up on the left, so it occupies this layer and this layer. Slide this to the right. So slide it to the right using the middle layer, and then up on the right. Slide it back to the left, down on the left, slide it back to the right, down on the right, and then slide it back. In that way, this was placed and none of these were taken out. Now notice, it's the same thing I did with this puzzle. The difference is that I had to figure out which layer was going to slide this. For instance, on this layer, on this side, it's not this layer that did that. It would be this layer. So I had to keep figuring out which one to turn. Not a huge inconvenience, but something I had to do. Here, I don't have to make that decision. It's always the middle layer. So it's an actually much more straightforward solve. If I wanted to put this in, let's move this circle around by manipulating the middle layer until this is where I want it over here. So up on the right, slide it to the left. Now I could go up. I'm actually going to go both to keep this one in. Up over here, slide it back, down on the left, back here, both come down, slide it back. Okay, now we move this back over here as well. So this is in. Now this guy is in, it's just upside down. Actually, all of these are in, but they're upside down. So we're going to want to start to move things out so that I can move them in the right layer. So let's move this. So how would I flip this? Well, to flip it, let's just take this edge and move it up to here. But I don't want to take one out that's already in. So let's move the center like so, and I'm going to put this up to here. So up on the right. Now we're going to slide this to the left, up on the left, slide it back to the right, down on the right, slide it back to the left, down on the left. Okay, the end result is I did put this white one up to here. Now I want to put it up to here. So let's turn this center to where this can correlate with this guy over here. Up on the left, slide the middle to the right, up on the right, slide it back to the left, down on the left, back to the right, down on the right, and we can slide this back. Okay, let's move this back in over here. So this is in, which means this is in. So now we've got these two, which are upside down. I have to dissect into this in order to move this up to here, but that's okay. It'll be our temporary sacrificial lamb. So up on the right, slide to the left, up on the left, slide it back to the right, down on the right, back to the left, down on the left, and move this back. Okay, so I had to temporarily take this out to move this up to here because it's so much easier to place this. So where do I want to place this? Well, let's place this on a place that's upside down, like here. So it'll take this out. Okay, so I'm going to move this into here. Up on the right, slide it to the left, up on the left, back to the right, down on the right, back to the left, down on the left, move it back. Okay, we can put this back. Okay, so these are no longer upside down on the wrong layers. I can now more easily place them. So we can take this and move this to here. Up on the right, let's turn this with the middle layer to the left, up on the left. Back on the right, down on the right, back to the left, down on the left, and turn this back. Okay, so now you can see all these 3x3 centers are now in. This is done exactly the same way. No difference there. As we start to expand out over on this side, now just to show the playability of this puzzle, it's not going to be too different. This can come up to here, same thing, middle layer. Same technique. This is just to show you the playability of this. So you see that here. Okay, we want to move this into one of these spots. Let's move our center. So this will come up to here. Same technique. This is just purely for demonstration purposes. And finally, this to here. Up, turn, up, turn, down, turn, down. Okay, so this is in, so it's done the same way. To place the rest in, these are also not scrambled. So I can just move them in, move it in, move it in. Same thing here. Move it in. So we've got our long cross. These are all placed the same way, except for these pieces. These won't get placed because they're attached to the edge. So if we go back to our green, we can move this to here. So now understand what our left is and what our right is. We use the same layers to move these in. Now the layers are going to be different. Sometimes they're going to be center layers, and sometimes when they're here, they're going to be end layers. So visualize this. This is going to come in through a middle layer, up through here. So it's here. Now I have to move it because it's juxtaposed in this layer. I got to move this layer to the left. So turn this to the left. Now this whole area here moves up to the left. So now this moves up. Move it back. This more middle layer comes down on the right. Move this back to the left. This terminal layer moves down on the left and move that back. You won't destroy anything that you did, but now we put that in. So we're going to continue that process. Here's this can come up to here. So this terminal layer, so we're differentiating the layers by the layers that we're turning. Up on the right, turn it to the left. Now this middle one is going to go up on the left, turn it back to the right, terminal layer down on the right, back to the left, more middle layer down on the left, and we turn this back. So now this is in, and as we're fixing this in the same symmetric way. Okay, so this can come into here, up, turn, up, turn, down, turn, down. Now you might be wondering, how can I turn this way or this way? Doesn't matter, as long as the layers don't overlap. To get this in, I need it to go into one of these spots, and they're all very equivalent. So let's move this center until there's one that fits. Up over here. Now I can turn it this way, or I can turn it this way. Doesn't really matter, as long as the layers don't overlap with what I just did. So we'll turn it this way, move it up here, turn it down, move it down on the right, this way, down on the middle right, and we got it. We can move this in here. Okay, let's see if there's more. This up to here, up on the left, here. Now it snags a little bit from time to time, but it is not popped as of yet. Let's see how things go. We have two more. This to here, so let's move the middle layer so it can match up to here. Up on the left, turn it to the right, up on the right at this layer, back to the left, down on the left in this layer, back to the right, down on the right, and we're good. One more, this guy here, and we're lined up on the left, slide it to the right, up on the right, slide to the left, down on the left. Now the good thing about this technique is it doesn't matter how many you put in, you're not going to take any out. So this is good, don't worry about these, so this is good. So now these next steps are exactly the same thing. So sometimes we can try to put more than one in, but this will go here. And they're both, well, yeah, so this will go here. So up on the left, turn it to the right, up on the right. Back, down, back, down. Now notice upon doing that, none of these got taken out, but I'm slowly putting these in. This can come up to here, up on the left, turn, up on the right, turn back, down on the left, here and here. Okay, this can come up to here, same technique, nothing new under the sun. So as you can see, solving this part is almost trivially easy compared to the 4x4. Not that we weren't doing the same thing with the 4x4, but we had to separate out which of these layers will turn the top layer. Here, it's always the same, the middle layer, so it can go much faster. So let's take this and put it in an upside down place. Right here. So this will bring this out. It will bring this upside down one down to here, but that's okay. Then I can just manually place it where I need it. And splat. Okay, so with that said, I can now take this and move this into here. And that'll take this from the upside down position. So up to here, turn it to the side, up to here, down to here, and bring it down. Okay, so when they're upside down, I have to put it into another layer before bringing it in. So now nothing is upside down, so now I can start putting these where they're supposed to go. Now this can go up to here, but I'm going to end up putting a white one in here, which will bring it upside down. So when I'm exchanging these, I don't want the white one to be here because it'll be upside down. So I'm going to take, I'm actually going to take this. Well, let's see how we're going to do this. This yellow will go over to here. So up, turn it to the side, up, turn it back, down, turn it back, and down, and turn this back. Now the problem is that this one is upside down, so we don't want that. If I move this into here, that's going to make that upside down. So how are we going to do this? We're going to have to bring this in to here, and that'll move this yellow one, this orange one down here. So up, turn it to the side, up, turn it back, down, turn it back, and down, turn this back. Okay, good. So now this will come to here, and this white one will be over here. So turn it up, side, up, back, down, and splat. Okay, so what we have is we actually have all these centers that are done. The challenging thing is when you have two that are left and they're rotated wrong, just move the one that's rotated wrong, that's flipped, up to this side. When you do that, then you can move it back to this side. So just kind of coordinate things accordingly. This is done exactly the same way. There's really no difference. Just turn this until these central areas are in. That'll be very easy. Trivial even. Okay, then upon doing that, you can just start doing your sliding U techniques. These are not like these. You can move those in. So this up to here, turn it on the left, slide it to the right. It's the terminal one over here, up on the right, back to the left, down on the left, back to the right, down on the right, and you can move that back. So now that's in. You just go all the way around the puzzle. In order to do that, this will come over to here, just to show the playability of the puzzle. It's almost like meditation. Okay, I think we put that one in there as well. This is interesting. What if I move this in and this in, turn this over here, brought this one layer up that has both of them, move it back, move this down and this down, move this back over here. Okay, yeah, that works. So basically I was able to put both in at the same time. So once we have the centers done, then it's just a matter of edge reduction. And this is really done the same way that any 5x5 would be done. I went ahead and put all these in. It's really the same thing, we just don't have these corners, which have been brought out to the surface here. We're going to ignore those because they kind of solve themselves. Anyway, so here's two red and whites. So if I find the center red and white, which is, so I'm just going to show a few because it's really the same all across the puzzle. Now it doesn't matter if I take some of these out because I have them reduced. So I'm going to move this here. And the way this is going to work is I might as well pull it away from this way from here since it's in the wrong place anyway. But move this down so you can see this here. Move it to the side, put this in its place, move this back, and bring it up. And it doesn't really matter if these are pulled away because they're reduced and they're easily placed back. But that reduces this over here. So I'm turning this into basically reducing this to a 3x3 supercube. Here's another one that has this one central one, which is blue and yellow, which is this guy over here. So same strategy. This is pull down, turn, 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 and pulled up. So it's just reductive techniques. And again, we don't worry about this. As you can see, it's really easy to move that back in. So forget about it. Don't worry about it. So this is flipped wrong. And that's why we're not going to get any parity problems with this because we're reducing it from one odd layer to another odd layer. A 5 layer to a 3 layer. So basically we're just going to move this down in this position. and we're going to replace it with this edge over here. So bump it to the side where this edge is, turn this into its place, move it in, and bring it up. So now that this is here, we're going to get the third one in, which is this guy right here. We got to get this out of the way, so let's move this up into its position. Move it down to the side, put this in its place, and up. And I'm not exaggerating when I say it's exactly the same thing. Here's a blue and white. Did I take that out accidentally? Anyway, so no parity problems because I can see what position it's going to be in. Like that time I almost put this in upside down. So this would have been impossibly upside down, but this edge coordinates it. So no parity problems. Move this in, turn, turn, turn. The problem with the reduction of a 5x5 is it is a little bit more cumbersome than a reduction of a 4x4 because there's so many more pieces. Okay, this to here to be replaced by this, so move this down. It's actually going a little bit faster than I thought, so that's good. Let's see. So many pieces to choose from. Here's this center blue and yellow. I can move this blue and orange rather in. I got to make sure the one I'm going to replace is going to be on the top here since I'm going to be moving it down in this position. So I move it down, turn, 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 and move it up. So we only did part of it, so I'm going to find the other blue and orange. Blue and orange, blue and orange. Right over here. Okay, this moves down. So this is a very playable puzzle and very portable too, so you can probably take this on long plane rides, as long as you're not flying the plane. Next is green and red. Green and red is here. Let's go ahead and move this in. I'm going to substitute it with this guy here. So it's going pretty fast, and again, it's 5x5 reduction. I'm just showing you the playability of the puzzle. So that's in. This one is, we'll just come over here. So it's really actually set up pretty neatly. I can move this green and orange away from this green and orange since it's not correctly placed anyway. From the center, bang. Now that I've done that, I can now replace this to the other side. I'll do this one. So now this green and orange will be in here. Substitute it, bring it back up. There's a whole bunch that I can very easily and quickly get in. So green and orange. That is going to be here. It's going to take this green and white one down. I could use this one, but I don't want to move this out of the way. So I just have to be sure. Okay, that'll be fine because these will end up over here. So move this down. Whoop. Not yet. This has to be up here. Okay, now move it down. Turn, 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 and then move it up. Okay, so we're really hitting a lot of potential here. Was this a manifestation of the scramble? I've never done it so quickly. So there should be one more that's out, which is this guy over here. Now if I do this right, let's turn this upside down. Okay, interesting. So this will come down to here and then come up to here, knocking this out to where it can be replaced by this. So down, turn, 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 and up. So I think that was the fastest I've ever reduced a 5x5. So anyway, now that we have that, this is now just a 3x3 super cube. The circles have no meaning, and these guys here are about to come in ways that you're about to find out. What we should do is we should get these guys in before I do anything else. So this comes here, this comes here, this comes here, and here. Okay, so we've got all these back in. So now we can try to pull these in. Double turn this, move this in place, bring it back up to a line over here. So here, let's align this. Let's see. This will, okay, let's bring this down so that we can bring this up and come into this spot over there. Okay, so let's move this down. and this will go to where the red one is. Bring this down, pull the red and green up, then pull this up into position. If I'm moving fast, that's just because really I'm assuming knowledge on solving a 3x3 supercube. Maybe I shouldn't assume that, but anyway. Now these are in. Now notice when I put this in, these guys got solved. So so that's just going to solve automatically. Okay, this will come up over here, and this corner will come into here. This is now just a 3x3 corner solve. And this will come over to here. Okay, so now that all these are in, these aren't in yet, but that's going to come in when I put these edges in. By the way, these are attached to the central edge here. Okay, so we do the second layer. This red will come down to here, and when that happens, this green and blue, which is attached to this, will be here and here. So we do our standard 3x3 second layer technique to pop that down here. This will go to here. UI, Li, U, L, U, F, UI, Fi. This is a very addicting puzzle to just move around. It's so well moving. Okay, so notice these are being placed in. As I'm putting these, I can tell this edge is not in yet because this isn't in yet. So this will come down to here. No real changes with the normal Rubik's Cube algorithm. Turn and down. Okay, you will not get any parity here as we found on the circle 4x4. Now this, I could show the reduction of these, but it's exactly the same thing. So F, R, U, R, I, U, I, F, I. These are now rotated up. I find the outer and inner ones that are together, which is here. I put that in front of me and I just do the SUNY. R, U, R, I, U, R, 2U, R, I. And then pretty soon all these will be in. Put our corners in. This is where it needs to be. This is not. And if one isn't, the other two are also not. So we do our algorithm to get that in. Now notice all these are now in because all the edges are in. So this is in, but these are not. U, R, U, I, L, I, U, R, I, U, I, L. So this is in. These are all correct. So we just do R, I, D, I, R, D, R, I, D, I, R, D. Move this into place. So 3 RDs will get the bottom layer back where it was. This comes up over here, and this comes up over here. Move it up, and done. Oh, wait a minute. Okay, there. Got this one also. So there you have it. The solve of both versions, which are really the same solve. I did find that as I was doing this one, it was a little bit more snaggy. I think it's because of these spaces tend to cause it to catch, whereas this one causes a slightly smoother ride. So if you want a smoother ride, probably this version. It's the same solve experience, just more pieces. This one did snag a little bit, but it is a smaller puzzle, maybe more portable. If you're like me and just want them all for your collection, then you can actually get both. But a really great opportunity that everyone has to expand your collection with a circle 5x5. You don't have to worry about things like parity, and it comes close to the real 5x5, although of course nothing can really match Carl Hoff's incredible creation. Anyway, I'll be waiting anxiously for their 6x6 if it were to come out, but once again, another triumph of Sengso, and I hope this was helpful. Let me know if there's any other puzzles. There are a couple requests that are coming, as well as the big video coming sometime soon. Anyway, thanks for watching.